Namaste everyone, I'm your co-host Shawnee ma'am. Welcome to your favorite learning channel. The topic for today's video is hierarchy of classification. So I'm sure that all of you must have used this term classification somewhere or the other. But have you ever thought how would you define the term classification? So today we are going to learn how to define the term classification at first, okay? So this classification is of organisms. We will be classifying living organisms. So this is the systematic method. It is the systematic method of what? Of grouping the organisms, of grouping the living organisms into different groups and subgroups, and this method of grouping is based on the similarities. It is based on the similarities between the organisms as well as the differences between them. Okay, so this is how we can define classification of organisms. Now this area of study that involving this method of classification and identification of living organisms. Here we are classifying and identifying the living organisms. So this area or field of study has been given a scientific name called the taxonomy. Okay. Now this taxonomy was first introduced by a scientist named Carolus Linnaeus. Okay. So he was the scientist who first introduced taxonomy, and hence he is known as the father of taxonomy. Okay. So now we are familiar with the term classification, taxonomy, and we also know who is known as the father of taxonomy. So now we will see that as we have classified organisms, we also name organisms. So the system of naming the living organisms is known as nomenclature. Okay. Now there is another term called binomial nomenclature. So what is it? Binomial nomenclature is also a system of naming. What happens here is, according to binomial nomenclature, the living organisms are given names. Okay, it involves giving names to living organisms, and this name has two parts. So what are these parts? One part is called genus name and the other part is called species name. Okay, so let me take an example for this. So the genetic or the scientific name of human beings is Homo sapiens. So I write Homo under the genus name and sapiens under the species name, because this is the genus name and this is the species name. Okay. Now in binomial nomenclature, a set of rules are followed and these rules are universal. So we are going to see what are these rules. Okay. So the rules are that the genus name always starts with capital letter. So this is genus name. So it should start with capital letter. Okay, the genus name will always start with capital letter, and this is the species name, and the species name will always start with small letter. Okay, this is one of the rules. The next rule is that when the scientific name if the scientific name is handwritten, if it is handwritten, then what happens? The genus as well as the species name should be underlined. They must be underlined separately. Okay, they are separately underlined. That's why I have written here Homo, which is the genus name, and I have underlined it separately. Then species name I have written as sapiens, and I have underlined it separately. Okay, because it is handwritten, so I have followed this rule. Now, in case if the scientific name is not handwritten but it is typed, then what we do is the genus as well as the species name should be written in italics. Okay, in case of typed words, we italicize the genus and species name. Okay, so these set of rules are universal and everybody has to follow these rules. Okay, so now we will start with the hierarchy of classification. We'll see what's the hierarchy. Hierarchy of classification. So here I will be beginning with domain. So domain is the highest level of classification, which includes a group of related kingdom. Okay, it includes a group of related kingdoms. For example, the domain Eukarya, it includes the kingdoms like Animalia, Plantae, Mycota and Protista. Okay, so these are related kingdoms that are included, or the kingdoms that come under the domain Eukarya. The next level of classification would be phylum. Okay, so this was the highest level. This is not the phylum, but after domain comes the kingdom. In domain we saw related kingdom were grouped together. In case of kingdom, related, it includes a group of related phyla. Okay, for example, all animals of different phyla come under the kingdom Animalia. So different phyla that come under Animalia are Porifera, Coelenterata, Ctenophora, Platyhelminthes, Aschelminthes, Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca, Echinodermata, Hemichordata and Chordata. So these are different phyla that come under the Animalia kingdom. Okay, then comes phyla. So phyla includes a group of related classes. Okay, so we'll understand with an example. So the chordata phylum chordata, this includes classes like mammalia, aves, that is birds, then reptilia, then Pisces. Okay, so these are different classes that come under the phylum chordata. So after phyla, the next level of classification is class, that includes a group of related orders. Here also we will be taking an example. The class, okay, so class we saw that it is including related orders. Okay, so the orders like carnivora and primates, which include humans, they come under the class they are coming under the class mammalia. Okay, so after class, the next level of classification is order. So order consists of related families. Okay, we'll take an example. So for example, there is lion, tiger, cat and wolf. They come under the same order, that is carnivora. Okay, so these are different families that are coming under the same order, carnivora. After order, the next level of classification is family. So family consists of groups of related genus. Okay, again we will look at one example. For example, lion, tiger and cat. Okay, they come under the same family. They are coming under the same family, Felidae. Okay, after family is the genus. Now genus includes the species of organisms which have common characters. Okay, so they include related species which have common characters. For example, lion and tiger. Okay, they come under the same genus, under the genus Panthera. Okay, so Panthera is the genus, hence I have underlined it, and the word Panthera's P is starting from capital letter. Okay, after genus is species. So species include individual organisms. Here individual organisms are included that having similar characters. Okay, these individual organisms have similar characters, and species is the lowest level of classification. For example, all the cats all the cats they come under the species under the species Catus. Okay, so Catus is again species name, hence I have underlined it, and C is small letter. Okay, so now let's just revise everything that we have studied till now. Okay, so we had started with the term classification. So classification, we saw that here we are classifying organisms, which is a systematic method of grouping different organisms into different groups and subgroups, and this method of grouping is based on the similarities and the differences between the organisms. Now this field or area of study that involves this method of classification and identification of living organisms is called taxonomy. Now, the scientist Carolus Linnaeus was the first person who introduced taxonomy, hence he is known as, or he is also known as, the father of taxonomy. Then we saw the scientific way of naming organisms. So the system of naming organisms is called nomenclature. There is another term, binomial nomenclature, which includes giving names to living organisms, and these names have two parts. One is the genus name and the second is the species name. So I have taken one example, that is the scientific name of human beings is Homo sapiens. Homo is the genus name and sapiens is the species name. Then I have told you certain rules, certain universal rules which are followed while naming organisms. That is, the genus name should always start with a capital letter and the species name should always start with a small letter. Then when we write the scientific names, if the names are handwritten, then both the genus as well as the species name should be underlined separately, as done here. Now, if the scientific names are not handwritten but typed, in that case the genus name as well as the species name must be written in italics. Okay. Then we saw the hierarchy of classification. Let's see the diagram for this and revise it. So this is the taxonomic hierarchy or hierarchy of classification. So here the highest level of classification is domain. Okay, so domain includes all the related kingdoms. Okay, then after domain comes the kingdom. Kingdom includes all the related phyla. Then there is phylum. Phylum includes all the related classes. Then class includes all the related orders. Then order includes all the related families in it. Then there is family, which includes related genus in it, and then there is genus that include all the related species, and in species individual organisms having similar characters are included. So we can see here that domain is the highest level of classification, whereas species is the lowest level of classification. In domain, we saw that the domain Eukarya, for example, included related kingdoms like Animalia, Plantae, Mycota and Protista. In kingdom, we took example of Animalia kingdom that included all the animals of different phyla. In phylum, we took the example of the phylum Chordata that included classes like Mammalia, Aves, Reptilia and Pisces. Then under the class, we took example of the class Mammalia that included Carnivora and the order Primates. Then under the order, we saw the example where lion, tiger, cat and wolf came under the same order Carnivora. Then in family, we saw that lion, tiger and cat came under the same family called Felidae. And under the genus, we saw that tiger and lion, they belong to the same genus Panthera. And in species, we had taken the example of all the cats that belonged to the same species Catus. So this is about the classification or hierarchy of classification. I hope you all would have got some great insights by watching today's video. Please do not forget to like and share the video. Till then, thank you for watching.